Hey, what's up, guys? You're here with Goran from Pickdawgz, and thank you for joining me here for your free picks for Sunday, March 17th. Well, guys, Saturday was quite solid. It was a busy day. We are on the verge of hitting that parlay of the day. We are just waiting off on Bilbao to finish off their game. They are ahead 2-0 at halftime, and the second half is about to kick off. It was a nice plus 360 something parlay, a five-legger. And hopefully Atletico Bilbao can bring this game to an end and get the 3 points in their pockets and some money in our pockets as well. In the MLS, we kicked off with a loss and a win. Um, Montreal had a 3-1 lead on the road. They ended up losing that game 4-3 after conceding, I think, a couple of goals in the additional time of the second half. Um, Inter Miami has beaten DC United on the road. We had both teams to score in over 2.5, which hit. And rest of the games pretty much haven't kicked off yet at the moment of me recording this video. Premium picks did quite well. Also, we made a nice profit on the European games in Europe, that is. And now we are just waiting off on the MLS games to kick off and to make some more money on that as well. Uh, as usual, you can check out my best bets if you click the link in the description. That will get you up to my page where you can sign up, get a daily pass, 3 day pass, 7 day pass, or even a month-long pass if that's something you want to do. As far as free picks go, we are having an international break next week, Euro Cup qualification playoffs, so there will be videos for that. Apart from that, there's not much uh, going on next week, so it will be a little bit slower. But I think it would be a good thing for us to get a little bit of a break from these clubs, and hopefully, then until the end of the season, they can stabilize and make a final push towards the end. Sunday, guys, is going to be fairly busy. There's not much in the MLS, only two games, which you can find in a separate video. While in the EPL, we have only one game and we have a couple of games in the FA Cup as well. So all of this you can get in this video, and there will be a parlay of the day once again at the end of it, plus 404, if I'm not mistaken, another five-legger to close out this very good weekend for us. Let's get this show on the road, guys. West Ham and Aston Villa is the matchup in the EPL that we have on the Sunday. Two teams that are coming off of a win in Europe. West Ham has beaten Freiburg. Well, not beaten. They destroyed Freiburg 5-0 at home after losing 1-0 on the road. They have qualified for the quarterfinals of the Europa League, and now, once again, they're playing a home game against a very solid Aston Villa team who destroyed Ajax in the Conference League 4-0 also at home. Aston Villa has lately been playing a lot better on the road than they have been playing at home, but with both teams playing in Europe earlier this week, I think that they might be a bit tired. They are really not used to playing this many games, especially Aston Villa. And I think this one's going to be a little bit rough. Defensively, I think that it's going to be a bit of a choppy game. And with that in mind, guys, I'm taking over 4.5 cards at minus 139. That means over 4.5 cards combined between both teams. So minus 139. In the FA Cup, guys, we have Chelsea hosting Leicester, and I think this is going to be a very interesting games. Leicester has started to stabilize once again. They are undefeated in their last two games. They have been scoring a lot of goals throughout the entire season. There wasn't that bit of a period where they were a bit slow. They couldn't get to the scoreboard, but now they're back at it, and we know that Chelsea is not a good defensive team. And with this being a single leg quarterfinals matchup in the FA Cup, I think everything is possible. And we've seen that Coventry had a lead against Wolverhampton. Then they were losing, and then in the end, they won 3-2, and they qualified for the semifinals of this FA Cup competition. As far as this one goes, guys, both teams to score in over 2.5, minus 102. There won't be any resting of the players because of the international break. There's nothing else going on for the teams over the next week and a half. So I think we're gonna see a great game, and I think we're gonna see a bunch of goals. And that biggest game of the day in England is between Manchester United and Liverpool. Manchester United is coming off of a 2-0 win against Everton, and Eric Ten Hag already said that potentially Hoyland will be back. Uh, Mason Mount was back to practice with the rest of the team, and I know somebody else he mentioned. So there will be a lot more offense to show for Manchester United. While Liverpool on the other side, they showed a lot of offense against Sparta Prague twice by scoring 11 goals altogether. But defensively, they have conceded at least a goal in each of their last three games, and because they were playing earlier this week and because of the injuries they still have, the depth could potentially be a bit of a problem for them. But I think those problems might be in the defensive end, not in the attacking end, where they're scoring a ton of goals right now and creating a lot of chances. So this is a game where I'm going with both teams to score an over 2.5 at minus 143. Might even take both teams to score an over 3.5 for like half a unit or so, which is a nice plus money. In Spanish La Liga, guys, we have Celta and Sevilla facing off. Sevilla is the home team, and you can tell by the price of the over 2.5 that the books are not really expecting goals here in this one. But I have to ask myself, do we really expect either team to step up defensively? Because that was a huge problem for both of them this season. Sevilla has conceded 42 goals. Celta Vigo has conceded 43 goals. At home, Sevilla conceded 20 goals, has conceded 21 goals in 14 games. Celta Vigo conceded 26 goals in 14 games on the road. So everything, to be honest, is pointing towards goal in this one. I think the books might be trying to steer us away from the over 2.5 in this one. That's why they're giving us plus 105. That is going to be one of the picks that I'm going to take for half a unit for sure. But as my official pick here, guys, both teams to score at minus 120. I honestly don't think that either side can keep a clean sheet here. So, Sevilla versus Celta Vigo, both teams to score. Villarreal and Valencia is another solid matchup in La Liga that we have going on Sunday. And Villarreal is now on a four-game winning streak when playing in La Liga, if I'm not mistaken. Their form has improved quite a lot. Actually, three-game winning streak, sorry. Unfortunately for them, they ended up losing to Marseille 3-1, even though they got very, very close to equalize on the aggregate. And if they had a little bit more time, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they had managed to pull up the overtime in this game. They got knocked out of the Europa League now, and only thing they have left is to focus on La Liga and try to get as close as possible to one of the European spots they have for next season. Valencia on the other side undefeated in their last three games. They haven't scored a lot of goals, only three goals in their last four games. They've kept a couple of clean sheets, yes, but when playing on the road, they're not a good defensive team, and they conceded 23 goals in 13 games. So in this one, guys, I think that both teams to score at minus 128 is the way to go. I honestly wouldn't be pushing it towards the over 2.5 because I think that 1-1 game would not be surprising here in this matchup. And the last game of the day in La Liga is a big one between Atletico Madrid and Barcelona. Atletico Madrid is coming off of a massive win against Inter at home in the Champions League. That game went to overtime and a penalty shootout, and they were the better team in that. And Atletico Madrid qualified for the quarterfinals against one of the favorites of the competition, which was Inter Milan. Barcelona on the other side really showed Napoli who's boss and beating them 3-1 at home. It was a great game from them. They were effective. They created a bunch of chances. It could have been even better for them. And defensively, I gotta say they were quite solid as well. Uh, I think this is gonna be, as usually, games between these two teams are a bit rough. I think it's gonna be a hard-fought battle. I think it's gonna be a very choppy game. Of course, Barcelona will probably try and dominate the possession, but with their morale high up, and with Atletico Madrid being or is being considered as one of the best defensive teams in Europe, I think that they will mostly focus on defending and then focus on counterattacks, which is basically what Barcelona is pretty weak against. And let's be honest, Atletico Madrid still undefeated at home this season with 13 wins, 1 draw, and 0 losses, while Barcelona is still undefeated on the road with 7 wins and 6 draws. So honestly, I think this was going to be a coin flip. Both teams will be a bit tired. Both teams have injury problems and suspension problems, and I think it could go either way. I think it could go to Atletico. It could go to Barcelona. It could go to over 2.5, under 2.5. We could see literally every result here. depending on the mood of these teams. But I think that we're gonna see a very rough game, and I think we're gonna see some cards in this one. And I think that one of those cards will be a red for either team. So I'm taking a red card to be awarded to either team at plus 270. In German Bundesliga, guys, we have Freiburg hosting Leverkusen. Freiburg will try to bounce back after that horrible loss to West Ham, but I think they will be unsuccessful. Leverkusen was once again losing 2-0 against Karabakh. This time they were able to make a complete 180 and they got a 3-2 win with two goals in the additional time of the second half. Uh, Patrick Schick scored a couple of goals in the span of like 2.5, maybe 3 minutes to get them the win. And since Xabi Alonso took this team, they're still undefeated. And I honestly think that they will stay undefeated until the end of the season. They will win Bundesliga, and I think they will win the Europa League as well. They are playing that well, and they are an amazing team. And honestly, I think that Freiburg will suffer another loss here. So simply going with the better team in the better form, Leverkusen to win and over 1.5 goals at minus 122. Borussia Dortmund and Eintracht is the second matchup of the day in Bundesliga. Borussia on a three-game winning streak. They knocked out Eindhoven from the Champions League, qualified for the quarterfinals. While Eintracht Frankfurt has now beaten Heidenheim and Hoffenheim in their last two Bundesliga games, while scoring 9 goals in their last 4 games, scoring 12 in their last 5 games, and scoring 14 in their last 6 games overall. So Eintracht is a goal scoring machine right now, but the bad news is that they have conceded at least a goal in each of their last 9 or 10 games in a row, and they can't keep a clean sheet against Borussia Dortmund. So in this one, both teams to score an over 2.5 at minus 125. Now we are off to the Italian Serie A, guys, where we have 5 interesting games going on. We have Juventus hosting Genoa in the first one. First game of the day, that is at 7:30 p.m. East, 7:30 a.m. Eastern time. And I know that Juventus has been all over the place. They have been struggling a lot. But Genoa has been horrible in the second half of the season, and Juventus hasn't lost to Genoa in their last 20 games when playing at home. So everything is pointing towards Juventus. I think the money line is perfect for a double or put it in a parlay or something like that. But Juventus -1 at minus 115. That's gonna be my pick for this one. And honestly, I think the least we are gonna get out of it is gonna be a push. Verona is hosting Milan in the next matchup in Serie A, guys, and I'm gonna keep this one very, very simple. Verona is on a two-game winning streak. I don't think they will get 3 games in a row. Milan, on the other side, is now on a four-game winning streak, undefeated in their last 5 games. They have qualified for the quarterfinals of the Europa League. They are looking solid. They are getting a couple of players back from the suspension list for this one, and they're pretty much healthy. All of their starters will be ready for this game. And luckily for them, they don't need to rest any of them for something because there's an international break coming up. So to keep it simple, I'm taking Milan on the money line at minus 143. In the next matchup, guys, Atalanta is hosting Fiorentina, and after knocking out Sporting Lisbon out of the Europa League by winning 2-1 at home, I think that Atalanta will get another win here against Fiorentina. With all due respect to Fiorentina, they are in a sloppy form. They can't keep a clean sheet. They played a hard game against Maccabi Haifa, ended up in a 1-1 draw, which was lucky for them because they did qualify for the next stage. But defensively, this team is a bit of a mess right now, and their offense is simply not picking up the slack. So, Atalanta on the money line at minus 118. That's going to be my pick for this one. Roma and Sassuolo is another great matchup in Serie A on Sunday, and Roma is coming off of a loss to Brighton. However, they have beaten them 4-0 in the first leg, and they have also qualified for the quarterfinals of the Europa League, even though they ended up losing this game. As far as their previous results go, they were undefeated in in their 5 games straight before this one against Brighton. They were scoring a lot of goals. And we know that Sassuolo is a horrible team defensively. They are in the relegation zone right now. They have won precious 3 points against Frosinone last week, but I think that's going to stop here against Roma. They will be without Vitti, Berardi, Doig, and Torstvedt, who are suspended and injured. and that is going to be a huge blow for this Sassuolo team because Roma at home is outstanding right now, and I think they will get a win. But I decided to take over 2.5 at minus 139 instead, just to kind of remove the volatility out of the pick. I think that's less volatile than taking Roma to win and over 2.5. But honestly, maybe half a unit if you have it to spare, put it on that because I think that Roma will get the job done in this one. The last game of the day is Serie A, is between Inter and Napoli. Big derby going on in Italy, and both teams got knocked out of the Champions League earlier this week. We know that Inter lost in the penalty shootout to Atletico Madrid. Napoli lost 3-1 against Barcelona on the road, but both teams have scored goals, and both teams will look to bounce back and get back on the winning track. Now, Inter is at the top of the table, and he has a pretty big gap between themselves and Juventus, so they have nothing to worry about. But Napoli is still playing for that Champions League spot, and they definitely want it, which means that they will go for it in this game. They are fairly healthy. They don't have any notable suspensions and stuff like that. And I think this is going to be a fairly even matchup in this one. Of course, we have to give advantage to Inter, who's been absolutely outstanding this season in Serie A. But Napoli will not just roll over in this one. I think that they will go for it. And they feel like with Inter losing, getting knocked out of the Champions League, this is going to be a chance for them to get a positive outcome out of this game. So I'm taking both teams to score at minus 125. In the French League One, everyone, we have Brest hosting Lille in the first game of the day. Let me just pull it up real quick. Where can I find it here? Brest is actually having a very, very solid season right now. They're playing pretty well. They are getting points, and I believe they are still in that Champions League spot. Yeah, they are in second place with 46 points, even though they're coming off of a loss to Lens. They are still pretty high up, and they will not make it easy for Lille to get points out of this game. Lille is only 4 points behind Brest in the French League One right now, but as you can see, they're not that much better. They are the underdogs at plus 195 compared to plus 152 that Brest has, and Brest has 7 wins, 4 draws, and only 1 loss so far at home this season. And when playing at home, they haven't lost to Lille in their last 3 home games. So I think this is going to be a tough game. Lille play the Conference League matchup against Sturm Graz on Thursday. They could be a bit tired for this one, but I think this is going to be a fairly even matchup nonetheless. So I'm going to go with the first half draw at minus 105. Monaco and Lorient is the next matchup in the French League One, guys, and I'm going to keep this one very, very simple. Monaco, defensively, even though they kept a couple of clean sheets in a row right now, they're not that good of a team defensively. And Lorient on the road has been quite effective. They have been scoring a lot of goals, getting a bunch of positive results when playing on the road. And with all that in mind, guys, I'm simply going to go with both teams to score at minus 115. Red will be hosting Marseille, and I think this is going to be a real treat, guys. I think it's going to be a real battle. Even though Marseille lost to Villarreal 3-1 in the Europa League, they are still advancing because they have beaten them 4-0 in that home game a couple of weeks ago. They have defeated Nantes 2-0 at home last week, and they actually got the hang of their form finally. They are marching towards the top four in the Champions League spot. But this game is not going to be as easy as some people might think. I think that Red is a very solid team, especially at home, where they've scored 26 goals in 13 games, conceded 18, while Marseille on the road has conceded 19 goals in 12 games and scored 16 in those 12 games. So uh, I think that both teams to score is reasonable here, to be honest, but I also think this is going to be a very choppy game, full of fouls, and I think it's going to be a rough one, to be honest. And with that in mind, over 4.5 cards at plus 102, I don't think that's a too high of a line, and I love the price on it, guys. I think that in the first half alone, we might get 2 or 3 yellow cards, and then finish it off in the second half with a couple. Rennes versus Marseille, over 4.5 at plus 102. And the last pick of the day, and before we move on to the parlay, is between Montpellier and PSG. Uh, Montpellier haven't won any of their last 10 games against PSG, and even though they're in a solid form right now, they lost only one of their last 4 games. They're coming off of a win against Nice on the road. There is a bit of a quality gap between these two teams, and with PSG. advancing to the next stage of the Champions League, getting a few positive results after that, scoring 5 goals in their last 2 games. I think that they are the clear favorites in this game. As far as the injuries goes, I still see Marquinhos, Skriniar, Kimpembe, and Sergio Rico, who are out of this game, but that doesn't mean much because Mbappe, Asensio, Dembele, and some other guys will be in the lineup here, and they will definitely be leading the charge for PSG. So I'm gonna take PSG to win and over 2.5 goals at plus 102. And now we are up to that parlay of the day, everyone. Another five-legger, like I said. United versus Liverpool over 2.5 goals. I'm gonna take Leverkusen on the money line against Freiburg. I'm gonna take Milan on the double chance against Verona. I'm taking Roma team total over 1.5 goals against Sassuolo. And I'm gonna take Montpellier versus PSG over 1.5 goals in this one. That's it, everyone. Thank you for joining me here. Check out my best bets. Sign up, guys. Check out the rest of the free picks, and let's win some money together on Sunday. Have a great day. Good luck with all of your bets, and I'll see you soon with more free picks.